How you doing? Anthony Ferraro here of Create Sci-Fi. Today I want to share with you some practical advice, right? Submitting your film to a festival. Now, in a previous video, I talked about my momentum budget, and one of the key components of that is to sort of have a festival to aim for. And when you're submitting to festivals, sometimes it's a little overwhelming, and I kind of approach it the same way I approach everything, right? It's like if you stand back and look at the whole thing, it's too much, right? So divide and conquer, right? Organize. So really right now, at the time of this video, the only online main submission service is Film Freeway. And it's in the name, that's good, it's free, right? And a lot of people use this, a lot of filmmakers use this, and what's great about this is it's almost like a Yelp, right? Like it'll break things down for you by categories, and then there's like most popular, and I'll get more into detail about that. The other one is Without a Box. Now, Without a Box, you'll see is going out of business, right? So we're gonna take our cue off of Film Freeway. With Film Freeway, I'll use my project Erringer as an example. What you have here is you have an overview of the project, right? That's your log line and your synopsis, a director's statement, director's bio, cast and crew, and then some production photos, a teaser, any social media sites and websites that you have, and perhaps some press, right? And then the most important is you have to have the private link to your film or series, whatever you're submitting. You could do that through YouTube or Vimeo, and I'll go over later just roughly how to set that up. But those are sort of all your things you want to have prior to organizing this information. I'm going to use a Google Doc. I like the folder structure in there. I like that I can access it from anywhere. You can do this locally on your computer. The folder structure will be the same. You can use Word doc. You can use just a basic text document. It's really just about the organization, right? And creating your buckets, your folders, where you're just going to have all this information. So what I'll do is I'll just first set up a main folder, right? So this is Festival Subs, Erringer. So I'm going to create a new document, and this will be director's bio. Come up with your bio, because in the festivals it is director forward, right? Sometimes producer or a main actor, but it's really the director's showcase, right? So you need to have all this information. So I have my bio. You don't have to overthink this. You never want to give too much information in these things. Not that you don't want to list everything, but people just don't read it, right? So you just want to keep it tight. New document, log line, and synopsis. By now, you should have the log line of your film, right? But again, we're just putting this all in one place. So I have my log line, and then I have my synopsis. And again, keep it tight. You know, there's plenty of tutorials about how to write log lines and synopsises. I can't stress this enough. You just want to be concise, right? And take cues off of things that you like, that speak to you, or things that have done well, right? All right, so you get the idea now. So now we're going to do director's statement. So in the case of Erringer, for me, it was about where I was in my process. And the main thing for me and Erringer was about really focusing on creating something that was really cinematically beautiful, right? And that's really what that was about for me. So in my statement, I just talk a little bit about that, right? About how, like, you know, on the onset of this project, it was really about taking the time for me with this one. Okay, so now you're starting to see, so we have this folder structure now, right? We have the title of our film, we have all these documents just waiting for us, right? So the next thing is cast and crew, right? So for this, what I tend to do is, depending on where you're submitting, usually it's, the director, producer, writer, and then any key cast are like the main focus. If you want to go beyond that, what I'll do is I tend to go into my document that I've already had, right? If you finish your film, somewhere you're going to have a document that's going to be set up to do your credit roll at the end, right? And I just go through that. But, you know, for the most part, it's just going to usually be the director, the writer, producer, key cast, and then, you know, like a DP, right? Festival, think about whatever is facing forward, right? It's the person who produced it and wrote it, the director, whoever the main talent is, and the person who I think I just said, the person who wrote it, right? So that's what you're going to put on that. So now I have that in my document. So the specs, you're going to have to do a little research. You're going to have to a little digging, right? But based on our film Freeway, pretty straightforward. So just make sure to ask the people that it's in their wheelhouse, right? So the editor will probably know the aspect ratio and what the format is of the viewing final film. Runtime, again, that's from the editor. Budget, that's the producer. Film type, runtime, when did you complete it? The budget, where you shot it, the type of equipment, if you're a first-time filmmaker, student filmmaker, etc. And this stuff you just want to have handy, right? Okay, so now we want to set up a document with all our URLs, right? You want to have some kind of basic website. Social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at least one of those. And to be honest, for a first-time filmmaker, a Twitter presence, an online presence, actually will make a little bit of a difference. Don't shoot the messenger. That's just the way it is, right? So we'll call this URL. So for Erringer, that's a short film that I made. So the Twitter I use is my Twitter that I use for this channel, Create Sci-Fi. But your personal Twitter is fine. I would just, for the time while you're submitting, replace your header image with something that relates to the film. Same thing with Facebook. You know, I have Create Sci-Fi, but you know, if you go to my personal Facebook, it looks like Create Sci-Fi, right? So it's the same thing with your film. Just during the time of your submission process, make all your social media look like it relates to the film. Or even better, set up specific sites for the project. That's not too hard to do. And then for the website, so for my series Galactic Galaxy, I do have a dedicated website. And like I said, it's very basic. It's the teaser, and then I have links to the social media, right? It's all there. For Create Sci-Fi, I have a blog, and then I have a dedicated page to Erringer, so I have that as the website. You just want to have all this information, but again, right, I just rattled off these 3 or 4 things. Now they're all going to just be in this document. And then now we're going to create a separate URL document. I like to keep this separate. So this one is going to be trailer and screener. So the trailer should be online prior to submitting, right? You just want to have a 30-second, 1-minute trailer or teaser for your film. You could use Vimeo or YouTube. That's really the only options. You could use Facebook, but for festival submission, I would keep it to, for now, YouTube or Vimeo. Right, so that's simply, you go to your teaser. You can grab the URL up top. I like to just use the share button, copy that, and then we go back into our document and we just say teaser, trailer, whatever it is for you, right? And you just have it there. So now the screener, that's something different. You want to have a private link to that, right? So you're going to upload your film to either Vimeo or YouTube, right? So in the case of Vimeo, you can create a free account, right? So once your film's uploaded, you can go to the settings and you want to make it private. You create the password. There's the password. So now nobody else can see this unless they have the password, right? And then what I do is screener. There's the URL, and then you create another line. You put password, and then you put your password. Now with YouTube, I have it set to private. What that means is that anybody who has the URL can watch it, but then nobody else can see it. So the same thing, you copy the URL of that, right? So now you just have that. Because when you fill out your submissions, they're going to ask for the link. And then they'll prompt you to say, is there a password, right? All right, so now we're going to create a folder within our folder, and this is going to be images, right? I tend to do like 3 screen grabs from the film, and then maybe like 3 behind the scene photos, and a key art image, a poster. Right? Now I have another video I'll link to in the description where I go over how to create key art, how to create the posters. Right? So for Erringer, I have my poster, right? So that I'll upload or drag it, whatever you do, however you're going to do it, if you're working locally or in Google Docs or something. So now I have my poster, and then now for screen grabs, I'll just do this briefly if you're on your own. So we'll go into Premiere. Scrub through, and you're like, oh, that looks like a good moment. And then, you know, just export frame, find some place to put that, and then you'll have those. Another simpler option is you can take your film, open it in QuickTime, whatever viewer you use, go full screen. For Mac, it's Shift Apple 4, screen grab, boom, right? Pretty simple. I think, I'm not sure what it is on a PC, like Control Print Screen or something like that, but I'm sure you know that, right? So you get your images, put them in your folder. So now I have my poster, I have my images. Now behind the scenes are good. You should put 2 or 3 of those. Again, it used to be difficult, but now it's pretty easy. Everybody's snapping pictures with their cell phones. So let's go. Like, so in Erringer, what do I have here? Right, I don't even know who took this picture. That was, you know, okay, I'm the director. Here's a showcase picture of that. So you get the idea. You just want about 2 or 3 pictures like this. Okay, so now we're all set up, right? So we have our main folder, which is either locally on your drive or on a Google or Dropbox or something online. And within there, we have our images, which is our key art, our behind the scenes, and our production stills. We have our cast and crew list. We have our director's statement, director's bio, the log line, the synopsis. We have social media URLs, we have the trailer and teaser URLs, and then we have the tech specs, right? So it's all there. So now, as of the filming of this, we're gonna go to Film Freeway, and you're gonna create a free account, and then you're gonna just hit Add Project, and all this information we just prepared, you're just gonna knock it all in there, right? Because I know the reality of this, especially if you're a first-time filmmaker. All these things are like, oh, geez, another thing I gotta do, right? So this way you're ready for it. But now you have this information. So like in the case of, I don't know what it is now, but I remember last year, Tribeca wasn't on Film Freeway. Or there's a lot of without a box ones that I don't know if they're going to migrate to Film Freeway or they're going to have their own submissions. So then when you go to a site, a festival that takes direct submissions through their site, you're just going to go to this folder and they're just going to ask for all that same information, right? It's all universal. Now let's just talk a minute about what do you submit to, right? This might be why a lot of you are here. If you're a first-time filmmaker, you want to highlight that. You don't want to hide from that. And then also, what's unique about you or your film, and you want to sort of start to zero in on films like that, right? So it's like, what's great about Film Freeway, and then you could use these same sort of principles to just do a general Google search, right? But you know, within Film Freeway, let's say I'm a first-time female filmmaker, right? So women in film. And then all these festivals are going to come up. And I'm going to tell you, for your first festival, you know, you're going to want to submit to Sundance and South by Southwest and Tribeca. You should, because maybe you're the 3% out of, you know, 100% that might get in, right? But for the other 97% of us, it's going to be a long slog. It's a lot of hard work, and you got to buckle up. But aside from whatever major festival you're going to send to, you probably shouldn't, but you're gonna. So just do that. So we'll move on from that. So you've submitted to the major ones, right? And you should. And then what's great, like I said, sort of the Yelp aspect of Film Freeway is if you're a first-time filmmaker, what are the most popular? So these are the most popular among your peers. So I usually go through these, and then you can read the reviews so you can get a good sense of what's going on. It's definitely a numbers game. You're not going to get into everything, but if you're careful about the ones that you do submit to that make sense, you're going to have a really good experience. Right? So for me, I spent a lot of time in this one, sci-fi. So the main thing I wanted to convey is you just need to be organized, right? You need to have this all on hand. And sometimes you'll miss out on things because you're just overwhelmed, or, you're doing all this stuff yourself. So you hear about a festival, and this has happened to me quite a few times, where somebody will talk about a festival and be like, oh, I should be involved in that. And you go, and it's like, oh my God, the deadline's tonight or tomorrow. And then you got to, here, it's just ready to go. So let's recap. We have our main folder, which is our submission folder for the project. We have our images. We have our key art, the poster, again, link below. I have a video where I go over how to create your key art. We have grabs from the production, and then we have some behind the scenes. We have our cast and crew. We have our director statement and our bio, logline, synopsis, social media, etc., tech specs, and then the trailer and the screener URL is important. And as a note to this, what I'll do is, because it's so deep, the field of competition, is make sure that once you have your links for the trailers and the teasers, test them on somebody else's computer. Just make sure that that's all working. And again, it's all overwhelming, right? So the more you can have things just set up to move on, that'll really benefit you. Well, I think that's enough on this subject. Hopefully you found all this useful. Like, share, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, please. And be sure to leave a comment. I love to read the comments. And we have a merch shop. Check out the t-shirts. Buy a shirt. That really helps this channel. And remember, I'm just here to help make sci-fi and help you get it out in the world.